for you because I see you taking notes, but if I record it, I can send you the link. So I don't
Okay.
know if that makes sense, but bringing the Lord into it, whether you're praying for him, you're asking him how you can pray for him more. You're pointing to the Lord when you do that.
Hmm.
It almost sounds like he's not necessarily praying about some of these things. I mean, you don't know for sure. You can't accuse somebody of that, but he might not be, and that brings the situation into lasting longer than it needs to because we're not asking
Mm,
the Lord to help us. Does that make sense?
yes. Sometimes I think the lazy version of waiting on the Lord is pray about it once and then just let it go. And then
Mm.
the letting go of that instead of like I found myself saying even on the job, I'm trying to gently be the squeaky wheel, like not a whole big deal squeaky wheel, but just like a little squeaky wheel. And I forget that, you know, the Lord wants us to come to him as children, and children sometimes don't have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're kind a little bit tantrumy and demanding and high emotions. I mean, they can be sweet and precious and loving, but they can also be like, "What?
Yeah.
I need you." So
Well, and in that
maybe,
verse,
maybe
I
God
think,
doesn't mind our neediness, right?
no, I think that more than anything, a child is reliant. A child is dependent. A child can't do for themselves what the parent has to do for them. I have four grandbabies at my house for 3 days. I know about this right now. They're 1,
Mm.
4, 6, and 8, and they still don't decide
Oh.
for themselves. And that's what I think he's talking about, having that kind of dependence upon the Lord that we ask him for everything. Like I pray for parking spots. I pray for what I'm going to wear each day. Like I'm constantly talking with the Lord in my spirit and really have that sense of dependence upon him for everything. And that's just the
Hmm.
way I was raised. I learned that when
Yeah.
I was a little girl, just to be prayerful about everything. So,
Yeah.
so I think that's to me is like the biggest factor in any marriage is bringing God into it. And as the wife, it's harder to initiate spiritual activity because the husband can feel criticized or like, oh, I'm not doing it well enough. But just saying, as I said, the first step thing, how can I pray for you? I want to be able to pray for you. The Lord wants you to be healed, and I'm praying for you, but I want it to be more specific if possible. Having that sort of like humble approach is very loving. And to pray for somebody to me is the most powerful way of loving them because it's bringing the Lord to them to bring the solution that He can. And
Hmm.
if He's open to that and you're starting to do that more and you start to see a little bit more of I don't know, the results of it, then ask again if there's more specifics or if you can pray together. Because you guys don't really pray together very much.
Mm-mm.
That's
Not
how.
regularly.
Yeah,
Not regularly.
yeah. Well, in some of these issues, whether it's his work or the ministry, you could just say, I know it's getting to be a little harder doing your praise and worship ministry, and you have a lot on your plate with work. I'll really be praying if it might be time for you to take a step back and not do that anymore. So you're not as stressed about, or whatever, how you want to say that you're going to really,
Hmm.
Lord would lead him if this is something he's still supposed to do.
Hmm.
If it's making him,
I know, because I don't want him to step down from a place of just feeling overlooked and under needed and all that. Like in a way, that can be true too, that maybe they have built a big team of people to pick from, and maybe he isn't needed all that much anymore when he used to kind of be the interim. Like 3 years ago, he was probably not doing all the things for his real job he should have been doing because he was our interim person for like a year and a half before the pastor found somebody. So he has had varying seasons of, especially the first 10 years, it was kind of a, every Friday, every Sunday. Friday
wow,
night was band practice. And
that's a lot of
so,
time.
for 8-ish years,
Wow.
it was every weekend, like in the first 8 to 10 years of our marriage. And then as we were visiting the new church, and we visited for years and years and years, and then finally joined um, after we got a new pastor. But but he had been kind of just in the flow, which was great because I was afraid he was gonna not be able to serve, you know,
Yeah.
in the new capacity. And then it kind of revved back up to become the go-to person of, if everybody's on vacation, you're the guy and you're the guy. And then the interim position for like a year and a half that was volunteer. And then we get the new guy and he was still kind of in the leadership team and then he's kind of like not anymore. So I think he's feeling old, overlooked,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking like, oh, honey, age is just a number, and let's believe for more that the Lord has purpose in all of our seasons, dry seasons and
Yeah.
seasons of flourishing. So it's a
Hmm.
sweet idea to use prayer to bring God into our all of the parts of our daily life and our
Yeah.
marriage.
And if, for example, just the huge thing of Caroline getting ready to go to college, like I
Yeah.
would be saying, sweetie, can we pray for her? This is a huge step. And I'm assuming it's not a Christian college. So is she going to live on campus?
She's going to be in a townhome with a roommate that's going to be another girl that's a new golfer on the team.
Okay.
So they're going to be having like, they're not even in a dorm. It's
A
so
lot of
weird.
independence. Yeah.
Lot, yeah.
And I was in full-time campus ministry when I first got out of college, InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, and it's a student-run movement. So I was discipled by them in college, but my first recommendation for all college students is find the Christian groups. Like who you hang out with will determine the course of your college
Yeah.
life and career, basically.
Hmm.
And so try to, encourage you to find people like InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. That's who I worked for. There's Campus Crusades, there's Navigators, there's Chi Alpha, which my kids were involved with. There's just a number of them. Then there's several that are associated with churches as well. So if she can find a college Christian fellowship group, she's going to find and make Christian friends. And then you'll
Hmm.
have that sense of security that she's not going to get in with a huge partying group and, you know, start
Yeah.
drinking on the weekends and all that stuff that goes on.
Mhm.
And it's what happens is it's really the first time that these kids are feeling independence and freedom from their family. And sometimes they make wise decisions in that freedom, and sometimes they make unwise decisions, you know.
I know. I know it. She's actually, we took her to the airport at 4 this morning.
Oh, really?
She's gonna catch up with the Young Life group. They're going to
Good.
Carolina Point.
Oh,
So her
neat.
boyfriend went to public school here, but he was involved in Young Life at his school.
I love
And
young life.
yeah, so and
Okay.
she's hoping to be a Young Life leader in
Okay.
college. So that
Well,
would be sweet too.
sometimes they have that in college. Is it there at your old
Mhm.
school or you don't know?
I don't I would assume they are because we do have Young Life in certain high schools here in town. So,
Uh-huh.
and I think she's planning on being a Young Life leader
Okay.
for the high school. I don't know the details about it. So, but I
Oh,
did send her today on a plane to get to Greenville, South Carolina, so to catch up
awesome.
with them. So that was good.
Yes, that's
That was good. So that'll hopefully that'll be her group.
yeah,
One of her groups.
yeah.
So.
How long will she be
Mhm.
gone?
I think they come back Saturday, maybe.
Okay. So
I don't think I even know.
not super long. One day at
She
a
comes,
time.
yes, I think she comes back on Saturday.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, you're looking great. Looks like you've lost weight since I've met with you last time.
I've gained, oh, thank you.
Not yet.
No, sadly, I've gained like 12 pounds. I'm like, ugh.
Mm,
So I'm back in the 290s. I'm like, darn it, I was barely in the 70s. I'm like, oh no.
mm.
So I've got my little under the desk elliptical. I'm trying to just get the blood flowing and
Oh,
with my
good.
vein, with all my varicose vein junk and
Mm,
trying to stretch and feel better. I need to get back into trying to work out some. I
mhm.
was trying to do that since last July, but it's a long road. It's
Is
definitely
it
a long road.
exactly 9 to 5 or 8 to 4? What's your work?
8 to 4:30.
Uh-huh.
And I am struggling to get here by 8 sharp. I swear I'm a European at heart, and I'm on ish time, and I have got to stop that. Like tomorrow morning, I've got to be here early to unlock. I'm going to be filling in at the front desk for the first block of the day. And
Okay.
someone gently reminded me yesterday, they're like, and you need to unlock that door and this door and turn on the lights, and you'll need to be here before 8. And I thought, oh, so
How far do you have to drive to get there?
it's only like 10, well, it's
Oh, good.
11 or 12 minutes.
Good.
So it's only about 2 miles, but depending on the time of day.
That's
So
good.
we'll see about when little sis goes back to school, July, like 24th is their first day of school. And then it'll be interesting to see time, school zones and what it's going to be like whenever everybody's back in school. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I need to be leaving at 7:20, not right now. I'm trying to leave at 7:40 and I'm still not cutting it
Yeah.
quick, and I'm
Well,
cutting
you've
it too
only been
close.
there, you said you've only been there a month, so it takes a while to
Yeah,
adapt to that kind of schedule. It's much more demanding than what you're used to, kind of as
mhm.
part-time and freelancer.
That's true. That's true.
Well, how else can I pray for you all? Is it mostly just your communication with Michael? Are you thinking?
I think I need prayers and guidance on my own attitude, because I think in a way there is that uh maybe it's a temptation to be this lazy rebel kind of person. I've really kind of enjoyed leaving the house. I used to like just stand around in the kitchen like, okay, should I be prepping something? Should I be cleaning something? Should I be, and I would do things. I would keep the wheels spinning of getting, but I turned a blind eye to dusting along like in my 20s, and I should have never. That's disgusting. But I just don't even, it's like I do see it and it shames me, and then sometimes I deal with it, and then most of the time I just don't. Or vacuuming and I'm like, ugh. So I don't even do, I used to laugh and say, I need to fire our cleaning lady. She's horrible. And I found it wildly funny just to say that, like, and my husband hates it. There is there's a mother-daughter duo that they are house cleaners. I
Uh,
call them the cleaning angels. And they come in every once in a while and they're like a NASCAR pit crew. And I love it. But my husband, his mama never had a cleaning lady.
mhm.
Well, his grandmother did. And like, I don't know. He's got all these preconceived notions of what's okay and what's not, and what's bougie and what's not okay. And so I can tell he's been mad at me for having them. I think cancer years, a couple years back, my dad gifted me with them coming once
Nice.
a month or something. And I thought that was amazing. And it was. But as I chose to keep them coming once a month or so, I remember my husband saying something very flippant, like, well, what do you, whatever, because he wants to mow the grass and then like cook once or twice a month and
Hmm.
call it good. And I'm not such a good advocate on sharing and teaming and sharing the household responsibilities. And
Hmm. Well, what,
so
what,
anyway,
what do you mean with attitude? Like are you kind of quietly being like feeling resentful that he's expecting so much of you? Is that the attitude you're talking about?
I think I'm realizing backwards that I'm enjoying having an, it's a logical reason and also an excuse as to why maybe I'm not going to be doing all the things that he thought someone should be doing anyway.
Uh-huh.
And so some couples really do make those chore charts for the whole family, and and they do talk about what's your responsibility, what do you like to do, what do I like to do, let's work this out. We are not those kind of planner people, and I think I've had that shame in my head of, okay, I need to cook something fresh every night. I remember him being mad at me for cooking something fresh, thinking like, that's expensive, let's just have cereal. And I remember thinking, the kids and I have had a lunchbox and you've had a hot meal at work today. We've just been out of sync in little ways
Mm-hmm.
for a long time.
Hmm.
And so in a way, I think I've almost enjoyed like, okay, well, Caitlin, grab the vacuum, honey. And I need to invite her into it with love instead of this, I'm checked out and I'm so busy. And
Right.
but I can feel that I'm getting tempted to like be like, not my problem, you know? I don't know. I'm like, what is going on with me? I'm not sure, but
Well,
I don't
have you
know.
ever worked full time while you guys have been married in these 10 years?
20 years.
20 years
No,
you haven't.
I've been part-time for 20 years.
This is like this for one thing, that's huge. That is huge. And it's something that you all need to, or you first before the Lord need to realize this is a big transition in your life right now. And so not expecting as much from yourself is very important. And if he's, as you mentioned, shaming you, or maybe you're feeling shamed, I don't know if it's your own sense of,
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
if it's both, that's just something we're going to pray about. But either way, it's really important that you're hearing from the Lord. You're okay. You're doing so much right now. You're a mama with a teenager, which is hard, first of all. You have a daughter who's getting ready to go to college. You're helping her get ready. And in 20 years, you've never worked full time and had to be someplace at 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm feeling for you right now because I've been freelance all my life as a homeschool mom. I homeschooled, and that part of it is I wanted to have
Well, and that's
freedom.
huge.
But
Homeschooling.
it's,
Oh my
but you know
stars.
what? I was my own boss. That's the way I thought about it. And I didn't have to, like, my kids are all choosing schools and they're stressed out about getting their kids to school. I'm like, well, there's always homeschooling because I don't like people telling me what to do either. I want to do it on my own terms. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not rebellious. It's having
Oh,
that
good.
spirit of just, again, not having your life being like told to all the time, now do this, now do that. And then also not feeling like you're paid enough for doing it. So anyway, I want you to acknowledge that you've just launched into one of the biggest transitions in your entire life by going
Yeah.
into a full-time job, and have
Mm,
at least that sense that the Lord's proud of you, that this is something that is like a big deal, and that you should be off the hook for these other responsibilities that you've been doing really your whole life, with being the whether someone comes to help you or not, you're overseeing your home. As
yeah.
a homemaker, you're overseeing all the duties for cooking and food and housework and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
if Kaylin's home, you do need to enlist her to help more and have it be regular, and have it, you can give her whatever. We didn't do allowance. We just said,
Mm,
my husband was so funny. He's like, your allowance is you're allowed to sleep here in this house and eat my food. That's your allowance. And so we had chores. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's like from the time they were like 4 or 5 years old, they were dusting and mopping and doing, setting the table. And I'm struggling because my grandkids who are here, they don't do anything. They ask me to do everything for them. And I'm like, are you just their slave? I'm thinking of my daughter, because there
Wow,
needs
and
to
you
be a
modeled that to
teaching.
your daughter.
I modeled it,
Wow.
and
Yeah,
and
you
so I
did.
mean, it's actually my dad who grew up on a farm and then became a veterinarian and was very successful in his business. First to ever go to college, worked himself through college from a poor family from a farm. Like, he had such an incredible work ethic, and I was trained with that. And we had chores when I was little. I was weeding when I was like 3 years old in the garden. So it's important because that is something that I really appreciate and respect my parents for raising me to do. The main responsibility for me with my homeschooling and with my kids was their character, their work ethic, their honesty, their godliness, who they became as people. In a way, I didn't really even care that much about their academics. They did fine,
Hmm.
got it in, but my main thing is I'm not responsible for what they know, but who they become as a parent. And that includes learning how to vacuum the floor and how to dust and how to do the dishwasher and all that kind of stuff. So these are the things, like, even if your husband's not involved in this, it'd be helpful if he was. But I would advise you to have, a nice little meeting, take her out to lunch, make it special or whatever, and just say, Caitlin, I'm just going to really need your help a lot more, because now that mom's working all these hours, I don't have the energy to come home and cook dinner and do the chores and do the things that I've had the time and energy to do in the past.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
put it to her that way. I just really need your help. And these are
Yeah.
these are the things that I'm going to make you responsible for. And if you're saying it that way, like teenagers at that age, they can be so squirrely. And I still teach, so that's another reason I know about teenagers. Is there's that sense of like becoming more independent. And you can't tell me what to do and all that kind of attitude. Well, that's not true. I'm still the authority that God gave me over you. And until you're out of this house, you have to obey what I tell you to do, including helping more. So making her
Hmm.
responsible for carrying her load kind of in the house now that you're working, I think is extremely acceptable for you to do. You need that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And I have been able to find margin in certain, and so having a small burst of what do I have to do next? Like, I have found margin sometimes to keep, and I am kind of enjoying the system, you know, getting the dishwasher started at night. And but I need to stop unloading it in the morning because that's a 5 minute extra chunk I don't have. And I
That would
need
be
to,
on Caitlin's list. Have your list
Mhm.
and Caitlin's list and just put that on her list. And you don't have to tell her what time to do it and all that, but just this has to be done by the time I get home from work or whatever. The kitchen, or and
Yeah.
especially since she's the only one home making the mess, she can be responsible for her own dishes and so forth.
Hmm.
Would she be open to all of that, you think?
I think she has done the dishes once, so she probably would be.
Just
I
one.
think I think she said she enjoyed it in the kitchen with no one in it. And I thought, oh, I understand. So
Oh,
yeah, so maybe the thing of not telling her when to do it or how or whatever, but just giving her the freedom to get it done the best you see fit and letting that be good enough. And
yeah. Well, in
mhm,
my raising of our four, and they're all awesome adults walking with the Lord now, was just that the teaching them their character also taught them how to be responsible. That was a part of growing up. And around the time that they become a teen, and she's just 13, so she's just become a teen. That's when I would start to drill in, like, being a responsible is working towards being an adult. So these are the things you're responsible for. So rather than, I'm a teacher, like that's my spiritual gift, that's my profession. So I always am trying to look for the lesson behind something so that they're
mhm,
understanding the why, not just the should, because that gives them that sense of, just like you're talking about with Michael, that sense of, well, job well done because you were responsible for this and you did it really well. Whether it's taking care of a pet or doing chores around the house, then you commend them for it and, have a reward system. You will go out for lunch, once a month if these are all checked off your chore list or something like that. We were big with that as well. Incentives.
mm, mm. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because otherwise what happens is, our tendency, our fallen nature, even if we're Christians, is to be lazy and irresponsible and selfish.
Yeah.
We all would probably be that way if we could, but that's
Hmm.
again not working towards godly character, but being responsible, diligent, having a good work ethic is part of what you're building into Caitlin that way. And so going to work is a good excuse that you have this talk with her because this is like a big step of responsibility and change for you that you've taken on.
Hmm. That's
And I mean,
good.
honestly, Michael's probably going to need to help a little bit more than just mowing the lawn too, because I mean, you've had health issues in the past. And are you feeling in general okay with the schedule for the last month? So
Pretty good. Pretty good.
awesome.
It's making me, I'm definitely going to bed earlier.
Yeah,
Um,
tired.
yeah, which is fine. That's good for us to do. I used to be a night owl and that used to completely conflict with his schedule and and so
Yeah.
in a way I feel like me not getting on the same page. Oh gosh, that reminds me. I think we had an altercation a few weeks back where Michael was mad at me about something got crunchy, maybe with the kids. I can't think of the scenario in which kid it
Uh-huh.
was, but I heard him say angrily something about the same being on the same page. And
Hmm.
there was like this, I guess there was this digging my heels in the sand kind of thought
Hmm.
in the back of my mind, like just because we broke a covenant with the Lord and agreed to enter into marriage, praying that the Lord will be with us and go before us and guide us and help us. That did not automatically get us on the same page. We're on the same page as Christians trying to do the right thing, but I have a feeling, and I hope I'm wrong about what I think he was thinking, but I think he's got this kind of old barbaric thought in his mind of, I explained to you the way it is, and you agree with me. And
Mhm.
that's how it feels. And I hope that's not what he's thinking. But I found myself thinking, I am a whole person with and it's not that I'm expecting him to see life through the way I see life,
Right.
but I'm thinking I don't have to throw away my own thoughts and approach and opinions and preferences just to be compliant with my husband.
Mhm. No,
And
and
so sometimes I'm thinking like,
mm,
and I'll tell you another thing, Lisa, I may have already said this before, but you know, my ex-husband and Michael both,
mm,
their parents divorced at critical places in their teen years and
mm,
tween and teen years.
mhm,
I think my ex-husband and Michael, they both never saw their parents trying to work it out together.
mm.
So
Wow.
they don't know what that looks like.
Right.
They saw people who loved each other and who left, you
Yeah.
know, and and so in a way I tried to I'm trying, I think the Lord's been trying to help me remember, and I feel like the Lord's been helping me see Michael's inner child more, his that wounded little boy.
Mhm,
I think Michael's getting in touch with his feelings more than he doesn't really want to, but I think he has to in certain times, and yeah,
mhm,
it's definitely been weird. It's been a weird season.
mhm,
Because he's pulled away from me. He's holding on to that our dog, our little dog. He'll actually say, I feel like I have an unhealthy attachment to her. She's this little bitty lab. She's this cute little thing. She's gonna be 2 this year. She's his baby.
mhm,
So he will say it out loud. He's like, "Oh, I think I have an unhealthy attachment to Lola." And I'm thinking, oh my God. I'm like, whatever, you're fine. It's funny to me, but
mhm,
he's not crying to me a lot or holding, you know, I think February, March, he was definitely like waking me up and trying to ruminate and talk out loud about everything that came through his mind. And he's been more closed off, kind of checked out. We did go to the beach like in May or yeah, sometime in May.
mhm.
He sometimes it's been irritating to me that he's so checked out and
Huh.
distant. And then other times it feels like he's a little bit more present. So I'm grateful for that. But
Well, again, I would recommend that you talk to him about that. Just by saying, I miss you. It always has to be like, this is how I feel, not you make me feel this way. Have the I statements, not the you statements. That's the blanket rule that's really good with communication. So I just really feel like I miss you and that I'm not necessarily having as much communication with you as we had a few months ago. Is there something that I've done wrong? Have I offended you? The two passages are Matthew 5 and Matthew 18 that talk about if a brother offends you, you go to them quickly and become reconciled to win your brother back to you. Or if you've sinned against them, Matthew 18, you go to them quickly and try to be reconciled and communicate with them. So Christianity 101 from Jesus's own mouth is that we need to have a really good track record of communication when there's any offense. And Paul says in Ephesians, I believe it's chapter 2, don't even let the sun go down on your anger one day because it gives Satan a foothold into the relationship, into the situation. One day of anger towards somebody has a foot door for the enemy to come in. And that is not something you ever want, him coming into
mm,
your home. And I mean, you can use scriptures or whatever, but if you could just say, I really feel like I want to have better communication between us, or I want to
mm,
pray with you. And so saying things like, I feel that I miss you. I feel like I'm not able to speak with you and share what's going on. I've just transitioned into working for the first time in 20 years. I'd really like to be able to talk with you about how that might change our lifestyle and our marriage just because of the demand that it has on me. And I want to just know, have I done anything to offend you? I don't want to have that offense. I don't want to done something where I've sinned against you. I want to have an openness that we can discuss it and pray about it. And then say, please forgive me if I have. And again, if it's all on like that humble basis, that's going to open the door to the communication because you're just saying that you want to say you're sorry if you've done something. And it's probably not necessarily that. It's not, it seems just from getting to know Michael since I've talked with you, that it's more of the situation I was discussing earlier, that independence. Like I'm a man, so I have to work it out. That gruff, like old American sort of mentality, pick yourself up with your bootstraps, take care of yourself, do what you need to do, and don't talk to anybody about anything, including God, you know. And it if that's the case, it can be chauvinistic, like my way or the highway. You need to submit, you need to agree, all of that kind of stuff. And even that needs to probably be discussed because what again, see the main thing it's there's a passage from Proverbs 4:23. It says this is Solomon writing for to be wise, basically to guard your heart above all else because out of it flow all of the issues of life. So I'm always saying our main responsibility is what's going on in my heart. And if my heart is resentful and it's tending towards some kind of anger or offense, I need to take care of it by going to the cause of it in this situation. That's why I said talk to your boss. That's why I'm saying talk to Michael. Like if you're tempted to, as you said, have an attitude or be a little bit resentful or upset about it, you go to them right away and just say, I really am tempted towards an offense in my heart right now. And I really need to talk to you because I'm doing all of these things now with my job and going to work, but the situation at home hasn't changed in the expectation of me taking care of the house as if I'm not working full time feels like it's still there. Can we talk about how that can change by having Caitlin be more responsible around the house or whatever? That's just a small example. But just from, our conversation today, it sounds like you're you're tempted to not go to him because he's drawing back. And this is true with our kids or with our husbands. When they're drawing back, we need to engage even more. The key to a good relationship with anybody in life is good communication. And that's something that we have to be on guard. We're working on all the time, but we start with what's going in my heart in the relationship. What
Mhm.
am I being tempted? Like if I'm being tempted to sin, which is against God, not just another person, I want to take care of going to the source of that temptation to sin and try to take care of it. And this could go with your boss so that you're not dumped on with too many responsibilities. It can go to being Michael. And I know you well enough, Rae Anne, to know that you're very non-confrontational and you don't want to fight. You don't want to necessarily probably even discuss it at all if it's going to be something that's crunchy. I love your word,
Yeah.
crunchy. But instead of, not approaching it, not talking about it, what becomes worse is being taken advantage of, feeling
Yeah.
underloved, unappreciated, not seen. And this kind of hurt can lead to being unhealthy for you in your
Yeah.
heart. And that's not guarding it, even if it's just a little bit of resentment, or in a marriage, he should be caring for you. He vowed before the Lord and made a covenant to him that you were number one in his life. And it doesn't sound like he's doing a whole lot to make it look like you're a priority to him. So that's the bigger picture of how he probably needs to get reading a Christian book or get some advice or meet with the pastor that he's serving as the praise and prayer minister, so that he's taking care of like God first, marriage second, family after that. And then after that is your job before the Lord. That's what I believe should be our priorities. And that's not necessarily what he's living by. So there's probably a lot of things that are building up where you're feeling hurt and unappreciated and unloved and uncared for. And instead of, being angry or withdrawing yourself, which could ultimately lead to divorce, you don't want that. You want to have a relationship with your husband that you are drawing closer, you are growing. In the kingdom of God, it says that we're going from glory to glory, glory to glory. That's what God's kingdom is like. That means things should be getting better, things should be improving.
Mhm.
And if it's going the opposite direction, we need to look at the reason for that. What's the source of that? Well, in this case, I believe that it sounds like Michael's in um, what I would call a direction or a road in which he's becoming more and more unhealthy by needing, the drugs and feeling unappreciated with the ministry. I mean, that's not your responsibility before the Lord, that's his. But as his wife, you need to be looking together at what's the cause of your anxiety, which is the reason you call me with this job stuff, and bringing that to the Lord. And there's just the perfect example set up from the Lord. We took it to the Lord and he answered. He came in my mind did a miracle, and point to that as a testimony of God's power and his answering prayer, which should build our faith to go back to him for the next step. Okay, let's really pray about whether or not you should continue having all these responsibilities at church when you're on medication for stress. And it's not necessarily bringing life to you. It doesn't sound like it's life giving and encouraging and bringing just that sense of, you know, as you said, as unto the Lord, and so the Lord's blessing it. It's more like he's probably doing it because he think he has to or should after all the that amount of time. So, looking with him for the solutions by taking it to God, not you figuring it out, but helping them
Mm,
work through. Let's just pray about if this is something that we need to re-examine and possibly consider not doing anymore, sweetie. Saying it something like that. And you're not telling him what to do, you're just saying you want to pray with him about that.
that's great.
So,
That's great.
you know, the reason I bring in, if he's not meeting with the pastor, if he doesn't have an accountability partner, if he's not necessarily open with his life with somebody, it might be less invasive for him to get a Christian book, or like I've mentioned to you, the Love After Marriage materials that they have, which is all about working on your communication, learning how to reconcile when you have a conflict, having that sense of like it has. I can send you some of the specific um, I would call them, I think they call them a maintenance plan, that a husband should ask these questions once every week or so. What are you thinking about? What are you dreaming about? What's the Lord doing in your life? How are you feeling? Like, this is your husband's responsibility to take care of you. And then it's got a list for the wife as well, for you to be saying, these are the things I'm praying about. Has that changed? Or do I need to add to my list of what I pray for you right now? Because I'm really interested in helping you to, feel better, to be healthier, to feel successful, to be on top of things. Whatever word you want to use it, of just blessed, to feel blessed
Yeah.
in your life,
Yeah.
because it doesn't seem like he is, you know.
That's good. Yeah, I should do that. I should do that. He's in a group of 5 or 6 or 7 men that they usually meet once a week, but I don't know that they go
Mhm.
individually very deep. So yeah.
At
Well,
church.
I'm so sorry. I'm probably gonna have to wrap up soon. I need to
Okay.
keep it to an hour. I'm sorry. So
Oh
yeah.
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Do you want to meet again next week? Because we didn't get enough time to pray. So now that, see, I didn't even remember that you were working full time, but now
Oh, that's okay. Yeah,
you
thank
can
you.
only do work your lunch hour then while you're at work.
Oh, I can. It will be. I'm noticing it's hard for me to do like anything else when I get home in the afternoons and evenings. So
Yeah.
I do have a lunch break they want us to take. So I have
Okay.
like an hour I can do. So yeah,
Okay.
I'd love to meet again sometime.
So, well,
That'd
a
be
week
great.
from today, I'm available at 2
Okay.
here again.
Okay. Sure.
It's on
That'd be great.
Tuesday at 2. Well, Father, I just bless Rae Anne today, and Michael, Lord, I bless all these things we discussed. I thank you that you're going to open up the doors for Rae Anne to talk to Michael and to talk to you, to bring prayer for their girls and for her job and for the responsibilities they're facing. I just bless Rae Anne with hope and with energy, with divine health and strength. And I hear the Lord say, as your days are, so your strength shall be, from Deuteronomy, that you have the strength to be able to do these things and be victorious and successful in them. So I just bless her today in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord. So
Thank you. Amen.
normally I would work with somebody at least an hour and a half. So let's do an hour where we pray more next time. And then if you
Okay.
want to text me more specific or email me, whatever you want to do, more specific
Okay.
how I can be praying for you, we'll be
Yeah,
able
thank
to
you.
pray together about it the whole time next week on Tuesday.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Right. You look great.
Oh, you do too. You do too. Have fun with your grandchildren. That's such
Thank
a sweet
you.
thing.
I have them till
Thank you.
Thursday morning, so we'll make
Oh,
it.
that's sweet. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank